Have you been able to lean on Olandria as you figure out the Ace situation?
I definitely leaned on like my friends, my family, and like, you know, kind of, they gave me a lot of comfort in this, and even being able to speak about it. It's hard to talk about, and it's like, when is the right time? But there's never a right time. It's kind of just a thing of like, you know, let's put it to rest and find peace with it. So my friends and family definitely helped me with that.
Are you and Olandria still cool?
Olandria is, like, I'm sure she's doing great.
Okay, I didn't want to read into it, but I was like thinking, wait, when I mentioned like, does she lean on Olandria, she didn't like actually mention her. I was like, are they okay? Because I can't deal with an Olandria and Chelley breakup. Like, that would be more devastating than you and Ace to me.
No, I mean, I just was answering just like, you know, my family and friends, like, you know, so that's really
and like the people who have 100% been there for you.
Exactly, so
and giving you the time and everything like that.
Exactly.
Yes. Okay, good. Okay, I'm glad things are good in that arena. And seriously, guys, if you have theories about the status of her friendship with Olandria, let us know. I didn't know how to interpret what she was saying. If I'm reading between the lines, it's giving we're no longer friends. But I told her, after an Ace and a Chelley breakup, I can't take a Chelley and Olandria breakup. That is just
too much.
No.
We'll see if they get together over the holidays, maybe.
I don't know. It's just my heart and my spirit is telling me it's a wrap on that friendship.
Hey, welcome back to SipMooreTea. So guys, I intentionally left out that clip that was played from my previous chellace and Splitsville video, because that wasn't an answer that Chelley gave. That was Olympic level dodgeball. That answer didn't just dodge the question, it ran laps around it. That pause needed space for me to dwell on. It needs context, it needs receipts. Because once you zoom out and look at who took the backlash, who disappeared, and who showed up, the pause stops being awkward and starts looking intentional. So in this video, we're not just talking about a friendship, we're talking about patterns. And we have to recap again for the 100th time the Speedy podcast fallout and who lit the fire. So let's rewind to where the mess really started. Ace goes on Speedy's podcast and makes comments that immediately ignite backlash. The tone was inflammatory, careless, and according to many viewers, it wasn't really aimed at Olandria, nor did Ace say that Chelley shared his sentiments. But nevertheless, the streets clocked it as a one-way beef with Nick. But wait for this. Nick didn't even seem aware there was a beef at all with Ace. And that Ace even felt that type of way about him. But Ace's comments were loud enough that the fandom reacted. And when the reaction came, Ace did not take the hit. In fact, Chelley took the hit and Olandria took the hit. Two black women absorbed in the backlash for comments they did not even make. So Ace didn't protect Chelley at all. And this is where the critique sharpens. At no point publicly did Ace redirect the hate, take accountability, say leave my woman out of it. Nothing. Chelley was left to manage the emotional and reputational fallout alone. And in pop culture, absence speaks louder than statements. Protection isn't just what you do privately, it's what people can see you doing. So let's talk about the interview circuit and who actually showed up. So we all saw prior to the Ace and Speedy podcast, Chelley went on multiple interviews without Ace. Perhaps that was to avoid his imaginary beef with Nick. So some of the interviews were couple-centered interviews, the kind where partners usually sit side by side to present unity. But Ace was absent. Instead, what fans noticed were photos and clips of Chelley with Olandria and Nick after the interviews, standing close. You know, they were shoulders for her to lean on, I guess. You know, and I must have to admit, Chelley looked very comfortable, supported by the unified couple we call Nicolandria. So another man, Nick, showed up publicly for his partner, while Ace skipped interviews entirely. So this is where we get into the one-way beef and the ego spiraling out of control. The fandom narrative became clear. Ace seemed more invested in his issue with Nick than in supporting Chelley. Skipping interviews, letting Chelley face questions solo, letting women take the heat while he stayed quiet. That didn't read like strategy. It read like ego. And ego has a way of abandoning people when it feels threatened. So, okay, let's get back to the interview clip that sparked this entire video. So the interviewer says, have you been able to lean on Olandria as you figure out the Ace situation? And Chelley talks about friends and family. Then the interviewer asks, are you and Olandria still cool? And Chelley replies, Olandria is, yeah, like, I'm sure she's doing great. Now, this is the layup. This is where Chelley was supposed to say, yes, we're good, or we're working through things, or even we have love for each other. But instead, Chelley says, Olandria is, yeah, like, I'm sure she's doing great. Let that marinate. Olandria is, and she pauses, yeah. That's a deflection. I'm sure she's doing great. That's not a friendship answer. That is a distance answer. And when someone says, I'm sure she's doing great, what they're really saying is, we are not in communication. I don't want to lie. I don't want to explain. And I don't want to open that door publicly. Because if you're cool with someone, you don't assume they're doing great. You know, you say, we've talked, we're good, there's love there. Chelley didn't say any of that. And silence doesn't always mean beef, but it almost always means unresolved tension. So there was always that uneven friendship energy that Chelley was given. And this matters. Chelley never publicly called Olandria her soul sister. Olandria was the one who used that language. That tells us something uncomfortable but real. The emotional investment may never have been equal. Olandria uplifted loudly, Chelley benefited quietly. And when chaos hits, the imbalance surfaced. And she chose Ace's ego over her support anchor, you know? This is where women watching felt it in their chest. When Ace's words caused chaos, Chelley's silence protected the relationship and not the women getting burned. Not because Chelley is malicious, but because silence is often framed as loyalty, and loyalty to an egotistical man often comes at the cost of female friendships. That's how friendships don't explode, they fade. And it's the ride or die versus the soft life. Now let's name the elephant in the room. Chelley was playing the ride or die struggle of black woman trope. And there's a deeper layer to this. Chelley once publicly positioned as Olandria's soul sister, which is a bond rooted in shared experience as dark-skinned black women in a high-pressure villa. So when that same woman becomes collateral damage in your partner's controversy and you later can't even comfortably say her name in an interview, that's not nothing. That's the cost of alignment, because choosing silence to protect a man often comes with an unspoken consequence. You quietly sever sisterhood, not with a fight, not with drama, but with distance. Standing beside a man through mess, absorbing backlash, being strong, being silent to protect his ego. That trope is praised in black culture, but it's expensive. Meanwhile, Olandria stepped into her soft life era with a partner who shows up publicly, sits beside her in interviews, doesn't create chaos, loves her loudly and visibly, protects her without being asked. And yes, that partner is white. This is not about race superiority, it's about contrast and treatment. One woman was praised for endurance, while the other was allowed peace. So there might be another extra jealousy layer to this, because chellace didn't make the final four, as we all know. Nicolandria did, and they became fan favorites. So this led Ace to question Nicolandria's authenticity in public, and fans interpreted that not as honesty but jealousy, of course. And whether Chelley agreed or stayed silent, proximity made her part of the narrative. Silence doesn't mean guilt at all, but it leaves room for assumptions. So this isn't about villainizing Chelley, it's about naming a pattern black women are still trapped in. A man creates chaos, he disappears, the women take the heat, another man shows up for his partner, and the friendships fracture quietly. That pause that Chelley gave, Olandria is, wasn't just about Olandria, it was about who showed up, who didn't, and who paid the price. Ride or die sounds noble, I guess, in the community, until you realize nobody asked you to die riding. So guys, we are just shy of 400 subscribers, and every click, every comment, every share, it feeds the algorithm god. So stay tuned and sip responsibly. And until next time, bye.